powerful card because not only it's very hard to deal with. Black and red tend to have just 1 and 2 toughness creatures, so actually 2/3 is a really strong body on curve, and it's really hard to deal with late game. You know, it's just larger than anything else that they can play at that mana cost. So the fact that Darwin has 3 of them should really be in his advantage.
All right, well, we're going to find out, because that's where we're going to start with Skarin and Kastle. Of course, you see Demestrio is going to be playing against Rudyak, and then you've got Nezin playing against Dougherty here. So they look like they're ready to go, just looking for the green light here. And again, if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Matthias Hunt, Star City Games Open Series has made it to Worcester, Massachusetts. And if you guys do want to interact with us on Twitter, don't worry. We've got our iPads and iDevices ready to be able to hook up with you guys at SCG Live, hashtag SCGWOR, as we make our way through this Team Steel tournament all weekend long here in Boston.
Yeah.
Again, both these teams sitting at 3-1, so as you mentioned, this is basically an elimination round.
Yeah, I don't think, especially in a tournament where we had 192 teams, and remember, we were just cutting to top 4 instead of top 8. So because of that, it really will take a record of 7-1-1 or better. So the second loss obviously won't eliminate them from prize, but it will eliminate them from first place contention.
Yes. See here, Skarren's deck list. I'll take a look at the other deck list too really quickly. I want to see Demestrio's working with over
They
here.
both have gone red. They both have red-black in the middle.
Demestrio is sitting here looking. We're looking at Forest and Mountains, so he's going to be playing a red-green deck. He does have a Temple of Abandon as well, and he has the rest of the temples in his sideboard: 2 Temples of Triumph and a Temple of Mastery.
How many temples overall do they have?
Let's see, 2, 3, 4.
Ooh, that's good to open if you're a collector. Not too great to open if you're trying to win a tournament.
Red-green deck here, got 2 Leaf Crown Druids, Nespian Ass ×2, Nalea's Disciple, looking for rares or anything of that nature. Time to Feed, Voyaging Satyr, Vulpine Goliath. Okay, found 2. I found 2 Xenagos the Revelers, that's what I found.
He's playing against a white Rada who's running a white-blue heroic deck, which makes me really sad with 3 Triton's Tactics all in the sideboard.
Oh, boy, they're trying to dagger you.
Apparently I'm just off on this card. So I just like it a lot, and that means I'll get them when I draft with people. I'm fine with that. But actually, it's featuring Heliod, God of the Sun.
Okay. I was wondering when we were going to see a god show up to the party, and we will hopefully get to see one in action here. Skaren's going to start off with a Swamp, Kastle with a Mountain. We'll see if Frank does have a turn 2 play, as he did not have one of his 2 Tormented Heroes to start things off.
So we see Arena Athlete from Frank Skarren. Suggests, as we saw, Frank's deck was really heavy. You had 2 Scourge Marks and 2 Dragon's Mantles. Arena Athlete, a card that plays really nice with that.
And so here's the card that you mentioned, the Deathblade Raider.
And this kind of just shows why it's really strong right now. You know, it blocks Arena Athlete. It's going to be able to get in next turn.
Would like to try to block it.
Yeah, I mean, Frank does have ways, as we see here, Dragon Mantle to push it through, but he's going to have to use a card every time he wants to get through.
Well, thankfully for him, Dragon's Mantle is going to cycle, or cantrip, whichever term you want to use. So Frank will draw a card. The Arena Athlete will make it so that the Death Bellow Raider cannot block. He's going to get for some damage here. See if he has another land. He does. Does he have a play? He does.
It's a Fleshmad Steed. So a 2/2 with a drawback, but both these decks are really all in on the 2 drops right now.
So when Fleshmad Steed, as you guys do see, dies, whenever another creature dies, you tap it.
Yeah, it's an interesting ability. I mean, I see a drawback. Where it really comes into play is you can't use a removal spell to push it through.
Yeah, pre-combat.
Yeah, so if he has a blocker, it's just going to be a blocker. And it looks like we see Flame Speaker Adept now from Darwin.
That's our 2/3 scry. 2/3 when something whenever you scry +2/+0 first strike.
Right, and remember, Darwin is running a full 3 Titan strengths. That's the +3/+1 scry one. So he will be able to trigger that with a certain amount of frequency. He also is playing Portent of Betrayal. That's the Steal a Creature scry one. So he has 4, it looks to be 4 ways to trigger it.
Frank with a Scourge Mark on the Arena Athlete, and will make it so the Flame Speaker Adept cannot block. And into the red zone we go yet again.
All right, so that's 3 off the 3, 4, 5. He opts not to Fire Breathe, which sounds like he has a follow-up play. His follow-up play is going to be Timuret the Murder King.
And Darwin's going to take a look at that one, and that's another one that we're going to bring up on the screen as well, because that's the rare, and it already might be the best card in Frank's deck, honestly. For what his deck is trying to accomplish, is get the game over as fast as he can, having another bear, having it have reach as well, and being able to just rebuy this thing. This card looks really good in a hyper-aggressive black-red deck.
Yeah, it's I mean, as we see, his deck's really. We have 3 2-drops in play and 2 auras that cost 1 and 2. His deck really does have a game plan, and it seems to be firing on all cylinders this game.
Yeah, and just hyper aggressive. And again, it's kind of funny because like you look at some of the cards that Frank has played this game in the Scourge Mark and in the Dragon Mantle. Those are on the surface pretty mediocre cards, but they contribute to a much larger game plan, and it's obviously working out quite well in that Arena Athlete.
Darwin has decided now, probably due to Timoret, that he can't really play a race game. So he's going to hold back the Planespeaker Adepts to block, and then play Erebos' Emissary. He's going to just try to, play 2/3s and 3/3s, things that can block. He has to hope that Arena Athlete doesn't continue to get triggered here.
Yeah, that's the primary concern right now is the Arena Athlete. If Skarin can keep triggering it and making creatures can't block, he can force through damage and then attempt to finish the game off with that Timoret. You see Erebos' Emissary in the house format, a 3/3 for all intents and purposes. The rest of the text, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but right now it's sitting as a 3/3 just looking to block here.
Yeah, that card is really scary in a race right now, actually, because of its second ability, which is you can discard a creature card to give it +2/+2. If you have enough creatures, it lets you just take a race out of nowhere.
Alright, so Skarin's tapping some mana.
He is. That's a Baleful Eidolon, it appears to be. That's 1/1 in Death Touch. Not even a particularly strong card.
Hey, whatever it takes. Gonna give +1/+1 and Death Touch. So there's the bestow. You guys see the Eidolon on the screen. And the Arena Athlete is just going to keep coming through.
It does look like there's a chance to trade for Darwin, and
he has to take it, right? Yeah, and so that's going to come into play now.
Yeah, if I'm Darwin, I'm okay with what progressed this turn. You traded, and your opponent got a 1/1 Death Touch.
Yeah, I think you have to be thrilled with that. If you're Frank, you're probably not thrilled, but it's something maybe it was just necessary to do to be able to try to win.
So Frank had the option of which creature he wanted to trade with, and interestingly enough, he decided to trade with the Flameseeker Adept instead of the Erebos' Emissary. Mm-hmm. So he's really respecting that threat of First Strike and Scry. I think it's because he knows his Eidolon, that 1/1 Death Touch he has, can trade with the Emissary.
Sure.
He's not sure it can trade with Flameseeker Adept. If there's a Scry card, it won't trade. Whereas,
sure.
Yeah, the 1/1 Death Touch will take care of the Emissary no matter how many pumps it gets.
And instant speed Scry tricks are not, those are things that you can actually find pretty easily. Titan Strength among them.
Right.
Alright, so here comes the 2/2 First Striker.
Yep, so Spear Point Oread. Interesting enough, today we've hardly ever seen this card bestowed.
Yeah,
I think we've seen it bestowed once.
I think it's because I simply think it's because the bestow cost, is 6 mana, and that's so much to give a creature +2/+2 in First Strike.
Yeah.
Frank gonna play a 2-headed Cerebus here, and now a Scourge Mark on top of that.
Yeah, and that's a really strong play, putting the Dragon's Mantles and Scourge Marks on a 2-headed Cerberus. Because it has double strike, it's really a creature asking to have an aura on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if he just drew it now. The reason I'm thinking that is because I have to imagine he would have preferred to have that Eidolon on the 2-headed Cerberus.
Yeah, for sure. I think he would have loved to set things up that way, but as it stands, just a Scourge Mark on there. See, Kastle's going to play a Swamp. He's going to take a look at the Murder King again, make sure he knows exactly what this thing does. It can't only go upstairs, Darwin. Probably be a little bit too good if it go to creatures.
Yeah. Something I want to touch on, I'm looking at Skarin's deck. And maybe we talked before, we haven't seen anyone cast an Ordeal yet today. And he does have an Ordeal of Purphoros, arguably the best Ordeal, I think. And he's decided to leave it in his sideboard for this match. Even though it's one of,
kind of interesting that I'm interested because we haven't seen any of those get cast all weekend.
Yeah, I think it's what it's showing to me is he really just respects that his auras are cantrips. He's running Scourge Marks and Dragon Mantles instead.
Sure. All right, Darwin looks like he's going to go reaching for some mana here. He's got a spell to play. Now that is pretty telling as well. As I was glossing over Frank's deck list as well, you see Darwin's going to tap 4 mana for that spell there.
Labyrinth Champion.
He has 2 Sip of Hemlocks, does Skarin, both in his sideboard.
He has no time for 6 mana spells, regardless of how good they are. Labyrinth Champion here, worth a look at. So
this card's awesome.
Right, okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Watch you as you look at him and be like, oh, okay, him, yeah.
Yeah, no, that card's awesome.
Among the things you can do with Heroicing, Shock is pretty good, and Skaren's got to be pretty worried about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely have to be. And again, we know that Darwin's deck does have Titan Strength in it to be able to trigger that. How many Titan Strengths do you ask?
3.
3 Titan Strengths you can use to trigger that. And also doesn't hurt that Scrying with Titan Strength can help him find more spells to target the Labyrinth Champion and have it kill some things. So this looks like a rough spot here for Skarren.
What Skaren's going to have to do is, because he has a lot of 2/2s in play, he's going to have to hope that Tamiret can bring this home. He's have to leave up enough mana that every time Frank tries to kill something, he'll have to pay for it with 2 life. And then he'll use that to bring back, if he targets Tamiret, Frank will have to bring back Tamiret.
Yeah, I mean, does he have enough ammo to be able to do that a ton? I'm not entirely sold that he does. Here comes the Death Bellorator.
It's close. He has 5 creatures and an opponent at 13. The real question is, can he do that before he dies? And what if Darwin just points those burn spells at Frank's face?
Yeah.
So we're going to see a double block.
Attempt to trade? Maybe?
Well, Darwin can always regenerate.
Yeah.
Frank's just trying to tie up Darwin's mana, it would seem. Well, sorry, actually what he's trying to do, Frank's already committed that Flesh Mad Steed is going to get thrown at Darwin's face. And
sure.
He's already on the I'm chucking creatures at you plan. Why not make Darwin use up 3 mana for nothing?
Yeah.
When Darwin will regenerate, and when he does, Frank's going to throw the Flesh Mad at him.
A good block. This is a good block, then.
This is just a really
good block. It's actually a really good block.
Takes away Darwin's mana for the turn. Remember, the Murder King does not tap to use his ability, which makes it all the more frightening.
So Kastle's going to go down to 11 here from the trigger. See if he has any interest in Titan Strengthening anything here. He does not.
It looks like he has a Lightning Strike in his hand.
At
least a Titan Strength.
He definitely has a Titan Strength. He has a Titan Strength for sure. I believe he has a Lightning Strength as well.
So Frank at a much lower life total than he might think. Lightning Strike deals 3 to him. The Titan Strength can potentially deal 2 more to him, so that puts him down to 7.
Yeah, if you target the Labyrinth Champion, you can just go upstairs with it. Labyrinth Champion, unlike the Murder King, can deal damage to creatures or players.
Right.
So
because the Murder King's in play, I don't know how much Darwin will want to go at creatures. It just seems like that just invites Frank to sacrifice them.
Also, I just really like saying the Murder King.
The Murder King cannot throw himself.
Yeah, that's one thing it cannot do. It can sacrifice another creature.
Right, so he's actually short a couple creatures.
Yeah, here comes the Raider. Because it has to.
Because it has to. It doesn't really want to, but it has to. It's an awkward attack with that double striker because of Spear Point Oriad. Spear Point Oriad's able to trade with the Cerberus.
He's going to hold back, and Kastle says, "Yep, block here," and Frank says, "Well, regenerate." So a bit of a standoff here. But Skarin is in a lot of trouble, where I think Kastle's kind of just got to balance his resources, make sure he doesn't die. But I think he has the resources in his hand to be able to actually get this game in his favor, assuming that he deploys him in the correct order.
So Lightning Strike. It's going to be at Tamiret,
which is I think the right spot to go.
It's either the Dome or the Tamiret. Depends which way you want to go with it. I think this is a pretty reasonable way to go because you have this repeatable Shock champion in play. Frank's going to get to buy back that Tamiret by stacking one of his other creatures, but
I mean, the less creatures for Kastle, the better.
Frank's board's dwindling, and Darwin is at too high of a life total.
Yep.
We see Titan Strength. We see a Rage of Perforos.
Yeah, wow, Darwin's hand's really, really good. Deck looks good, too.
Doubles of a black card, which we're not sure of what it is yet. It would have to be Blood Toll Harpy. So only black card has more than one of.
Yep.
That's a 2/1 flyer for 3 that drains both players when it enters the battlefield. I'm not sure Darwin wants to be playing those right now.
I mean, sitting at 11, I think he can maybe afford to play one and go down to 10. Potentially play the other one, go down to 9. I mean, you don't feel great about it, but if he plays both, it makes it so that Skarin will be down to 10, Kastle will be down to 9, and then Kastle can force through a whole lot of damage with the Titan Strength on his flyers, if he wants to do that.
Yeah, it's more that Darwin's ahead on the board right now, and by lowering both players' life totals, I think he's just inviting Frank to steal a game from him.
Sure. So now Darwin is going to reach for a couple of creatures into the red zone. Comes the Deathbellow Raider and the Spear Point Oread.
Alright, so Frank has the option here where he's going to make a block, sacrifice a creature to get the Temerit back, but it's still going to, more or less, that'll stop it from being a chump block. He's going to take some damage, and that's still pretty good for Darwin. He's going to force the regeneration.
Yep.
And do that same trick again where he's forcing Darwin to waste 3 mana.
So down goes the Death Toucher. Darwin does use the mana to regenerate Deathblow Raider. Frank's going to take 2. He's going to go down to 10. And again, Kastle does have that Titan strength in his hand that he can target his Labyrinth Champion at any time to deal 2 damage to something.
Darwin's playing this game in a really greedy fashion, which I really like. At any of these points, he could just let the Raider die and then play other spells. But I think he's milking all the value out of all his cards right now.
Skarren going to start his turn off by playing a Mountain. Here comes the Murder King again. Yeah, he's just trying to use that to try to get himself this game. He does have to attack, of course, now.
Yeah, the Deathbellow Raider, unfortunately for him, does have to attack.
You have no choice, Minotaur!
He's running out of blockers right now.
Yeah. Again, you kind of forget, too, that, it feels like Skarren's been in the driver's seat for most of this game, but Skarren's the one sitting at 10 life. He's actually lower than his opponent. As we do see some updates here for you guys. Demestrio down a game to Rudyak. And on the other side, you see Alec Nezin up a game over Rob Dougherty. So I'm still in a bit of a stalemate here.
So I think Skarin has come to the decision that he can't really play that late game. Darwin's really just going to slowly attrition out all his creatures. So he swings the Cerberus as well. Titan Strength's going to be pretty good here, though. He's playing it on Labyrinth Champion.
Yeah, and this is the big problem, right? Where this is what causes the problem here for Frank, is that he realized that he had to make a move to try to get himself back into this game, and Darwin does have the spell here in Titan Strength to target with Labyrinth Champion. He's going to target the Murder King, which Frank is just going to have to let die because it can't sacrifice itself. Right. And so now combat just goes terribly for Skarren, while Kastle's over here resolving Titan Strength and scrying. Well, not to mention the champion's a 5/3 now.
Now when Skarren kills creatures in combat, or when Skarren loses creatures in combat, he can't throw them upstairs because the Temerit's no longer in play.
So now you see Kastle ready to get his blocks on.
And I actually think we're going to see the discard of Blood Toll Harpy to Erebos' Emissary as well, so that neither of these are trades.
Yep. That's part of the reason I think he may have been holding on to him for so long. I think he's had opportunities to cast them if he wanted to, either those Blood Toll Harpies, but he's chosen not to, and correctly so, I believe.
Well, basically, if you think about it, he's either trading the Emissary for the Cerberus or the Harpy for the Cerberus, and the Emissary is already cast, so it's a no-brainer to trade the Harpy instead. It's already the better creature to begin with.
Yep. I think I agree with you, as Rudyak is going to consult Kastle about her hand for game numero dos. You see Rudyak is again up a game against Grand Prix Portland runner-up Joe Demestrio and Alec Nezin, who was Grand Prix Pittsburgh runner-up, losing to Brock Parker in the finals, preparing to play game 2 against Rob Dougherty. Decisions to be made in Team Sealed, that is for sure. So let's see what Kastle wants to do in combat here. I think he's going to let the first strike damage actually happen here. As we're being updated here, actually, Demestrio is up a game against Rudyak, so he had it backwards. Our apologies there. So the Murder King's going to come back. It's going to sacrifice a creature, discard the Blood Toll Harpy to try to eat the two-headed Cerberus, which is going to happen here. So combat goes incredibly favorably for Kastle.
And post-combat, he'll recast the Temerit. That's his only creature now.
Yeah.
It looks like Kastle's been able to grind out this matchup.
Yeah, and there's a Rage of Perforos now. And Skarin is going to pick up that Murder King and the rest of his lands and concede this
2,
game.
4, 6, 9. Yep, that actually will be lethal this turn.
So Darwin Kastle's going to win game number 1. So his team has a game now. But Rudyak and Dougherty's backs are against the wall, and Kastle says, I need some help, guys. Give me some wins over there. So Skarren and Dougherty are underway, close to us on the cameras there, so we'll probably cut that way for you guys in just a moment. Get those deck lists at the ready.
Right, so that's the one matchup we hadn't really had a chance to look at. We do see the red-black mirror in the middle. Rob Dougherty is playing almost mono-green. He's playing 11 forests, 2 plains, 2 swamps, just splashing for a couple of cards, especially for Chronicler of Heroes, Farika's Mender, Sentry of the Underworld. But really his deck is about, he has 3 Nylea's Presences, that's the 2-man as you see in play, and a lot of large cards. A lot of Feral Invocations, which is the +2/+2 aura.
See, Nezin's, he's blue-white, he's got a Battle-Wise Hoplite in play, but he's basically a blue-white heroic deck, is what he is working with over here. Also happens to have an Elspeth Sun's Champion as well, in case things do go late. He's certainly got a way to win a game like that, too.
It's excellent.
Like his deck a lot. I mean, it's not a hyper-aggressive heroic deck. You know, he does have a card like Omen Speaker, which is a little bit slower, but on the whole, looks like he's got a pretty good blue-white deck here. He does have 2 Foulnex leaders. So.
Yeah, what I like that I've been seeing is how different evaluations of cards have been in our format so far.
That's my favorite part.
We see in this one, blue-white, for example, Nezin has decided to not run in his he's not running Last Breath, he's not running Divine Verdict, and he's not running Hopeful Eidolon. It's the lifelink Eidolon. We've seen that card run by a lot of players. Instead, he has, he's opted to play Omen Speaker, for example, the 1/3 for 2, and Traveling Philosopher, cards that we are seeing cut by a lot of other players.
You see, Dougherty's going to come across here with the Chronicler of Heroes. He's going to follow up with the Staunch-Hearted Warrior.
Yeah, so there seems to be a 1/1 counter theme going on with Rob's deck. Chronicler didn't draw him a card, but the Staunch-Hearted Warrior does get 1/1 counters when it becomes targeted. There's a fair amount of, you play the Chronicler whether or not you think it will trigger. I think it's a 3/3 for 3. If he's playing Nesting Courser, he'll certainly play that. But he has a number of ways to trigger it in his deck.
See, attack there were both the creatures there from Nezin. Dougherty chooses not to block. That's a pretty loud declaration on that attack. That Nezin probably does have a Dauntless Onslaught in his hand. He does have 1 in his deck. The instant that can give 2 creatures +2/+2.
He has something to target with for sure, whether it's Onslaught or Feral Invocation.
So Dougherty decides to take 3 damage. Nezin follows up with a 3/3 and passes the turn back.
Yeah, that's the blue emissary again. It's going to threaten to draw a card. Dougherty has some decisions now. He has Voyaging Satyr, which is the mana accelerant in his hand. He has Sentry to the Underworld, or of the Underworld, which is the 3/3 Flying Vigilance for 5. He's drawn a white mana, so we actually can cast that now. He's got to be a little careful with his life total, as we know that these heroic blue-white decks can really explode with damage.
It's really interesting to me how much he's stretching his mana base to play a card like Sentry of the Underworld. You must think that it's really, really powerful and worth kind of, going through the work to actually cast it.
What I like about it is he's playing 3 Feral Invocations. It's an aura that gives +2/+2, and I think that's a kind of card that I would love to take a 3/3 Flying Vigilance, make it a 5/5 Flying Vigilance that I can regenerate.
Sure.
If you're in on that or putting auras on guys plan, I think Sentry's pretty good.
Sure.
We do see that Feral Invocation on top of his hand right there.
Alright, so Dougherty, considering his options, is the Hall of Famer.
If he plays Invocation, that would be a swing of for 9 this turn.
I think he's just going to go attacking.
If there's no blocks, he can push through 9 damage.
Yep. Invocation, of course, having Flash.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the big deal.
It's an aura with Flash. And make turn Staunch-Hearted Warrior into a 6/6.
Looks like he is going to cast this. Yes, he is. So there's Feral Invocation, and there is your counter. But 2+1, 1+1. Wow.
Yep, so that now a 6/6 Staunch-Hearted Warrior puts Nezin to 8.
Follow-up post-combat as a Voyaging Satyr.
Yeah, that's probably just on chump block mode. He wants to make sure that Thassa's Emissary doesn't draw a card here.
I think we're definitely in a racing situation at this point.
Yeah, there are a number of things that Dougherty has to be, I'm pretty I'm not happy right now if I'm Dougherty in this situation. You know, there's Voyage's End. Eventually, there's a possible Vanquish the Foul. There's a lot of cards that can really get you here and turn this race sour.
I know we haven't seen it yet today. I mean, Sea God's Revenge is a card that does exist in Nezin's sideboard.
Oh my!
Boy, that must
I
pain
don't know.
you.
I don't know.
I'm kind of with you here on this one.
You know what would be good right now? I'd be feeling pretty good if I was Nezin right now and I had Sea God's Revenge in my hand. I know I can't cast it this turn, but 2 turns down the road, I would be thinking, how can I lose? You know, chump once, chump with the Traveling Philosophers, and Sea God's Revenge everything, and just boom.
I am really surprised to that one on the sideboard. Again, but that's what makes week 1 and the initial weeks of the format so much fun. Everyone's evaluation is so much different.
My evaluation's probably just wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, we're looking at a player here at Alec Nezin who lost in the finals of a limited Grand Prix.
Yeah, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Whose evaluation is right? Is it you?
Is
it Alec? Who knows?
I said mine's probably wrong. I respect him as a player, and you know.
One thing he's going to do, he's going to get in the red zone here with everybody. He's going to put Rob to the test on does he want to chump block at all? If he does, what does he want to chump block? Probably the cantripper.
Well, I mean, does the most damage and it cantrips, so he'll make that block, taking 4, going to 10. He's got to have a plan to win this race here, though. Staunch-Hearted Warrior is such a beast right now.
So looking at 10-8 here. What does Nezin have to follow up with? I know your card you mentioned was Voyage's End. He has one in his main deck and one in his sideboard. Did he board in the second one? Not quite sure. Does he have the first one in his hand?
So that's a card. It's a possible trick. That, I mean, obviously is a great card on this board. Got to watch out that if he plans to just play 1 blocker, that leaves him dead to any removal spell. So he's going to want to have 2 cards to possibly play here. And we know that he does have a Voyage's End, or we're suspecting.
Well, I know he has one in his main deck, and he has access to another one in his sideboard. Don't believe he has one in his hand currently, but he is leaving up 2 mana, and is going to play the Observant Alseid before passing the turn back. So this kind of smells like one.
Yeah, if that's his only trick, if he doesn't actually have a trick for 2 mana, that would be a pretty aggressive attack that he made last turn.
So Dougherty's going to untap, he's going to draw. He's got 6 mana, a very large Staunch-Hearted Defender.
And also, so Dougherty doesn't have a removal spell. He's just going to go ahead and crash in.
All right. I think you're pretty happy with that.
Triton Tactics.
Okay. Hey.
First time we've seen the cast today.
Little smile from you.
I like the card. It's really good at doing what it's doing right now.
Yeah, that one's worth reading. Gonna trigger Heroic too on the Battlewise Hoplet.
Yep. So he has a 3/3 there. So we're gonna have 2 3/6s. So you can get to scry one.
Jeez. That card looks really good right now.
Certainly is good in the racing situation.
Yeah. So he wants to block here.
I mean, to be fair, actually on this board it's only okay. It doesn't actually save the creatures, so it does freeze them down, which is pretty good in a race.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's perfectly fine. Like blocking here because Battlewise Hotplate is going to be a 2, so it's going to be a 3/6, and he can block the.
I'm a little surprised he untapped the Emissary. I think if he wanted to make a chump block, he could have just untapped the Traveling Philosopher.
Yeah, a little bit surprised by that.
Maybe got excited about the combat trick, or he's just.
Just throw this away.
Yeah, but why untap the Emissary then? You know, why not just untap the? Why not just Triton Tactics on the? I'll say it. I mean, really just on the Traveling Philosopher.
Yeah, I think you put it on the Philosopher because that's the worst creature that you have out here. Because like having a 2/2 Textless versus a 2/2 Vigilance, obviously the Vigilance one is better. So
the Vigilance one can get disenchanted if that's a thing.
I guess that could be a thing that you care about. All right, so damage is going to resolve. Hoplite wins its fight. Alseid obviously loses his to the Staunch-Hearted Defender.
You're going to see Nemesis of Mortals.
I think we are. Yep. I'm passing the turn back. So Nezin going to draw a card for his turn. Boom. Voyage's End. Bounce that.
That's going to be a swing of 8 right now. But remember that staunch battle-hardened warrior.
Jeez. Dauntless Assault says 2 creatures get +2/+2, so and that is going to be more than enough.
Those 2 cards we mentioned pre-tournament as cards are pretty good in a blue-white heroic deck. We kind of saw them in tandem wreck a board state.
Incredible. Alec Nessen's going to win his match against Rob Dougherty, the Hall of Famer, 2-0. So the Grand Prix Pittsburgh runner-up has gotten a match for his team.
To be fair, I don't think they needed to be double targeters there. Single targeted spells, Battle-Wise Valor and one other single targeted spell would have been fine.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Not, the double targeting, and actually the freezing down also didn't matter.
Yeah.
He didn't really have another turn.
It didn't matter a ton, but it also makes it so that if the game does go more turns, that he's going to probably win a racing situation because of the freezing down that Triton Tactics would do.
There was the potential of a lot of extra value, but it never came up there. Just he had the tricks for his heroic guys. But still, nonetheless, an impressive win there.
I'll tell you, I like what I saw from Triton Tactics, to be honest with you. I really did.
I was going to go the other direction with it. Maybe I'm overvaluing it.
I don't know. I like what I saw. I mean, I like the potential. Like, it may not have been perfect in that situation, but I see the potential for it to be very good. Especially if this format's going to be aggressive like it's looking like it is today. Not to say that it is going to be, but if it turns up being an aggressive format, Triton Tactics goes from being good to great.
Yes, if it turns out to be all about racing. The card's very good at racing.
Yeah.
We see... Well, Artisan of Forms and Shipbreaker Kraken in play. So we have 2 rares. Shipbreaker, if you remember, was the pre-release rare.
Mm-hmm.
And Artisan of Forms is a 1/1 heroic it's the clone of the set. When you target it, it clones something. And I'm not sure, it might be another Kraken right now.
So Artisan has to be really good.
I think so. It's a clone, right? Clones are usually
clones are always quite good. And then release the Kraken. Release the Kraken, 6 mana, 6/6, Monstrosity 4. And then it becomes monstrous. Yeah, okay, that card's
really good. It becomes monstrous.
It
freezes down 3 things?
4
things?
Tap up to 4 target creatures, yeah.
And they don't untap until... Is it they don't untap until... Kraken
for as long as you control the Kraken.
So the Kraken just permanently, okay. He's just crazy. And that'll be good enough.
Yes. So Kraken's going to tie this matchup here between Rudyak and Demestrio. So you see Skarren and Kastle in the tank here. We come back to a very familiar board state with the Murder King out there for Skarren, but you see Kastle does have the Gray Merchant.
Yeah, it depends on what life totals are. This is interesting. It's possible that... Yeah, this is definitely a sideboard plan that Kastle has gone for here.
It's got so much lifelink. Ways to gain life.
The Gray Merchant and the Keepsake Gorgon were not in his main deck. So he's definitely gone bigger to try to counter Skarin's strategy. I'm a little surprised that Keepsake Gorgon wasn't in his main deck. That card's been very good.
Yeah, that's the 5 mana 2/5.
Yeah, it's the one that's in play right there, and for 6 monstrosities and kills a guy. Mm-hmm. I think the large creatures playing here looks to be really suiting him.
Yeah, I mean, Frank's deck is just a deck that tries to get under you and tries to kill you as fast as you can, and hopefully doesn't draw too many lands.
Yeah, we'll get life totals in a second here. It really depends on how much damage Kastle has taken.
Yeah.
And that's Insatiable Harpy, dealing 2 more damage, stealing 2 more. That's a flying lifelink. Skarin, fortunately for Kastle, Skarin has not landed, say, a Dragon Mantle on it. He does have the answer with the Gorgon, so it may not even be the best.
All right. So we got 23-9 for life totals.
Post-combat Minotaur Skull Cleaver. In other words, a post-combat fodder for Temerit.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. I think that's probably the better time to be playing right now, as they can't get through the Gorgon anyway. All right, so Kastle's back. I wouldn't say he's not in the worst position right now. He's in a little bit of trouble. Certainly a winnable game for him, but he needs to try to get this game back in control on his end. You see him reaching for all his creatures. Looks like he might be coming into the red zone with all those guys. Is he really? Wow, okay. Everybody in the club.
I'm surprised by this attack.
And Skarin, I don't think, has any reason to block, so he immediately takes it.
Yeah, all his blocks are terrible.
Yeah. So he's going to end up taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of damage.
So we see Perforos's Emissary.
Okay.
And it looks like there's a Pharika's Cure also in Kastle's hand.
And mentioned that during... I mentioned that when we were watching Skarren versus Kastle a bit earlier. Kastle has 3 of those in the sideboard, which is just perfect for this matchup.
It looks like Kastle has changed from a red deck into a black deck. I think that's his big change. He wasn't playing anything game 1 that was double black. And if you look at his mana base now, it looks like he's playing the Gorgon, he's playing the Grey Merchant, he's playing the Cure. I think he's really just changed his deck.
It's nice to be able to shift, given the option, which is why he has a lot of those black cards in his sideboard. The team has given him those.
Yeah, he has a full 3 Pharika's Cures, which just seem amazing in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. See, Skarin's going to come across for 2 in the air, gain 2 more life. He's going to go tapping some manas.
Kastle decides not to cast Pharika's Cure there.
I mean, his targets aren't really... I mean, he can target the Murder King to start. Other targets aren't great, though.
Target the Harpy just to make it go away.
And sacrifice it to the Murder King.
Eventually that has to happen. I guess having Cure on Temerit is the best one because that way you're insured to gain the life.
Yeah. I think I would much rather start with the Murder King, and then additional Pharika's Cures can be turned on-ish to take care of other creatures. I mean, he'll just sacrifice the creature that's targeted by it.
Yeah, you probably just continue to cure the Murder King over and over.
Yeah. Kastle up to 9 and comfortably untapping now.
Just so Skarin out of cards. This game looks to be going in Kastle's favor again.
It reminds me a lot of the first game, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
with how it played out.
Skarin's deck is once again a 2-drop deck, and where you usually want to 2-drop decks in sealed are risky. You can if an opponent's just a little bit bigger than you are, really can get you in the late game because your cards aren't very good late. We've even seen Skarin has had to merit both games late and still has not been able to pull these out. Yeah,
I think risky is the appropriate word to describe this kind of deck in sealed, because if your deck kind of putters out or it doesn't if it fails to accomplish what it's supposed to, then you have to draw these kind of mediocre to bad cards in the middle to late game that aren't going to win you the game. They're great early, but their shelf life is very low. And so I think that's the situation that Skarin's in right now, and that his draws right now, for the most part, really aren't very good. And now he's put in this kind of rock and hard place position where, yes, this is a pretty good block. He gets to regenerate his guy, has a Murder King activation if he'd like to use it. But again, Kastle has all the options here. He gets to decide how he wants to attack. He gets to decide if he wants to use the Gorgon to kill something. And it's nice to have options.
Yeah, he can kill. Yeah, he's got just that. A lot of options. And yep, the free block on the Minotaur, so Skarin will go to 15. And now we see the 2 mana up for Skarin means he still can get back that Temerit on end step if he wants. The creature he probably can't do it. He can't do it on his own time now, because if he sacrifices, then Kastle will get a free Gorgon activation. So the mana there keeps Skarin from getting Temerit back. And he's gonna go for it. It looks like.
It's just almost like he has no choice.
Yeah, I mean, this lets Gorgon actually kill something, though, so I'm not thrilled about that.
Yeah, can't activate fast enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you called that one. Could not activate that fast enough.
Right, he actually gets a creature for free. Well, without Temerit sacrificing it or getting value.
So Keepsake Gorgon's going to move to a 3/6 with that touch.
Slightly bigger wall. 7 mana is a lot to pay to kill a creature, but because it comes on such a great card to begin with, it's really just upside. 2/5 Death Touch. Death Touch has probably been pretty good in this format so far, just because
it's got to be, right?
Yeah, with all the large creatures running around. Granted, Death Touch on a 2/5 isn't exactly, you're not getting a discount on the trade.
Sure. But your guy just being so big and toughness-wise, there's Rage of Porphyros going to take down the Murder King yet again.
I think we're just seeing Once again, Darwin just out-grinding Skarin's deck.
The other thing I'm seeing here right now, too, is exploiting the weaknesses of the Murder King. The fact that it can't sacrifice itself. The fact that you have to sacrifice the guy to bring it back.
It's just a 2-drop,
yeah.
You know? Like, it can't do everything.
Yeah. Just, you know, it's certainly a good card in certain situations, but you see Darwin is able to just consistently use this against Frank and put him in these terrible situations, as now here come the attackers yet again.
It's an attack for 9. It looks like Skarin's going to try to rebuy his Temerit once again, but this time there's no one left to sacrifice when it hits the battlefield again. So now Spark Jolt to get that 3rd point onto the emissary. Will Darwin pump it?
Good question. Yeah. Frank cantrips with that.
How did he draw it?
Choose 1 damage target creature or player, scry 1. I think he had a card in his hand already. I think that card he already had. I don't think the Spark Jolt was his last card, and then he scryed 1 and just left it there. So I saw Darwin ask the same question.
Gotcha.
Okay, he was he was deciding on scry. Okay, got it.
So scry's to bottom. That means, though, if he wants this trade to happen, he does not get to have his Temerit back.
I guess he doesn't want the trade to happen.
Tough spot for him to be in.
Yeah, no kidding. It's gonna take 6 points of damage, go down to 9.
What he must have thought there is that there was a chance, if he didn't see what he likes, that he would want to make that trade. Otherwise, he would have went Spark Jolt at the face.
Yep. And he is going to concede the game. So Darwin Kastle is going to even up this match for his team. Frank Skarren, Grand Prix Charlotte champion, is defeated here, and we're going to be moving on to the match between Rudyak and Demestrio, Game 3, and I think we're going to see both teams try to three-headed giant this bad boy to victory.
All right, so running down on the board, we have 2 Agent of Horizons, 2 Leaf Crown Dryads, and a Sedge Scorpion in play for Demestrio. Problem is he has no blue mana for the agents, so they actually can be blocked. On the other side, we see a 4/4 Battle-Wise Hoplite that's now a 4/6 due to Chosen by Heliod, an Artisan of Forms, and a Wingsteed Rider. We'll see what Artisan of Forms is actually copying right now. But it looks like in Rudyak's hand, there's a lot of action. Looks like right now she has 2 Dauntless Onslaughts, both in her hand. That's the double targeted +2/+2. Yeah, so she's being held down somewhat by that Sedge Scorpion, but both those Dauntless Assaults, very good in the heroic deck, especially when she has 2 heroic creatures in play.
So let's see what Rudyak's going to do this turn. A lot of decisions on her end.
It looks like she's reaching for a Coastline Chimera.
4 mana? Yep, that looks to be it, and pass the turn back.
We'll see if the Artisan of Forms is set to anything. It does not look like it is. I think it's just still a 1/1.
Yeah, you take a look at the graveyard. She does have 1 targeting spell, as she did cast in Battle-Wise Valor.
Yeah, but it looks like that was cast on the Battle-Wise Hoplite.
So the Chimera you guys do see on the screen, the 4 mana 1/5, great at defense, can block additional creatures as well. Definitely not an offensive threat. But now, wow, Demestrio's turning everything sideways here. So what is he representing?
It's got 4 green. Well, I think he's representing that there aren't many great blocks from Rudyak. She may, I think if she's the savvy play, is actually to trade Artisan of Forms with Sedge Scorpion, as gross as that looks. I think that's what she wants to do.
Yeah, you've just disgusted me with that idea. I hate it. But have to do it.
But you might do it, right?
Yeah, but you might have to do it.
Okay. Yeah, Artisan is still just the 1/1. No, I actually do think you trade it with Sedge Scorpion. Gross. Gross, gross, gross.
Demestrio tapping some mana here.
Alright, Demestrio is going to try to... I don't know if he can beat through that Battle-Wise Hoplite. He's going to go ahead and Savage Surge the Artisan of... the Horizon... Agent of Horizons.
Agent of Horizons, got it.
Lose his other one. And Rudyak takes 5.
So it looks like he's trying to force through some damage here. Again, still without blue mana, or excuse me, without red mana, is Demestrio's 9/4, 7 mountains in his deck, and he does have a Temple of Abandon as well. I wonder what he's sandbagging in the grip.
Those Dauntless Onslaughts, because he has Rudyak has two creatures with heroic, are essentially 6 points of burn when she casts them. So right now, if she were to, just right now attack with Wingsteed Rider and Favored Hoplite, that would be 12 damage. That would put Joe down to 3.
I'm just going to play it safe with the Wingsteed Rider in for 2.
I would love to get the Battle-Wise Hoplite on in there too.
I'm just going to pass the turn back. So representing multiple things here. Does have, as you mentioned, the Dauntless Onslaught. Could also be representing Divine Verdict. That's what I always think of when there's 4 mana up.
Yeah, it looks like your plan is to use the Onslaught to target Artisan and Hoplite and turn Artisan into something relevant.
Okay.
I'd like it, but I'm not sure. I'd kind of like the 12 you go play.
Yeah, I like this one a lot though.
Good. This is good too.
This one's pretty good, man.
This is also good. You're right. It's hard. If she can, I just want to get that Sedge Scorpion off the table. That guy's so good.
Demestrio just going to pass the turn back.
Rudyak's deciding if she wants to do anything on end step. She's got so many cards. Didn't cast any of them.
But that's okay. Not casting them, that's okay. She's going to just not cast anything on her end step and just draw a card, not a land. So both players are stuck on 4 lands.
It's a pretty big card that she drew was God's Willing.
Okay.
And that she's nice because she can play the Onslaught and the God's Willing in the same turn just off her 4 lands. And it also, it targets on a board full of heroic things. That's a thing too.
Yeah, it's a huge draw. Letting her play 2 spells in 1 turn. Now you see God Willing's on the screen. Plus she gets to scry 1 because she's looking for a 5th land. She can kind of have a little bit of deck manipulation there as well.
She can falter. See, now hold on. If last turn we 12'd them, God's Willing would be a pretty nice draw.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I
see what you're doing here.
I think it might be a good one. I'm going to throw that out there.
You did just throw that out there. Incoming sideways. Okay, here we go. This is before blocks.
She's going to... Yeah, she's going to burn the first of the Dauntless Onslaughts. This looks like it's before blocks. We don't know where we are in the terms of blocks.
I feel like this is... This feels like it would be before blocks at casting of this card.
It feels like Artisan of Forms is going to be blocked. I don't know what it's going to turn into, though. Alright. Dauntless Onslaught's happening. Okay. So the Wingsteed Rider will become a 5/5. The Artisan of Forms will become a 3/3 and become something else, so might become a different power and toughness, soon to be seen.
I think chances are high that that's what's going to happen.
It doesn't
no counter on there.
No counter. But it can turn into a Wingsteed Rider if you so desire, and then it would be a 4/4.
Dauntless Onslaught has really impressed me all day.
No, this card's great.
Yeah, it has impressed me all day long.
We're talking about how this card and Triton Tactics, well, actually all the double targeters. I guess this one actually I think this one has moved up to being the best one for me. I think just because white is so good at heroicing, and this card's just so good in heroic decks.
Sure.
Like how brutal is this right now? It's so much damage.
So they're trying
so much.
Right now, what's happening is looks like Artisan's going to try to turn into the Wingsteed Rider, and then attempting to get a +1/+1 counter, but that's not something that can happen because the targeting happens at once.
She'll just have to settle for a swing for 9.
Yeah. Instead of 10.
Yeah, instead of 10, it'll just be 9.
It's a rough life out there, okay?
That God's Willing is looking really nice right now.
It's still looking nice no matter what. Demestrio's going to draw his card. He draws a forest.
A forest. Exactly what he wanted.
A forest card. A new challenger has arrived.
Down to 4, yeah. Remember, she has another Dauntless Assault as well. And that God's Willing, this is going to be very tough for Demestrio too. He can maybe survive this combat, but it'll cost him all his creatures.
Yeah, I'm seeing it to be a very, very difficult game here for Joe. I know he's going to consult his teammates in Skarren and Nezin and see what they can do to get out of this, but Demestrio's just going to play his forest and pass the turn back. Rudyak going to untap those Wingsteed Riders. I know it looks like an Artisan of Secrets, but it is a Wingsteed Rider.
Actually, I think these are all the heroic creatures in her deck. Her deck's actually not a heroic deck. It just is playing like one right now.
Well, good draw.
Good draw.
Good draw for her. And you see Dougherty, the Hall of Famer, along with Kastle.
Yeah, instead of playing the tactics, they're playing Battle-Wise Valors in here, which actually seem like they're probably better in her deck.
And there's your God's Willing. +1/+1 counter and scry and
Scry
protection
1,
from
then
green.
Scry 1 again.
Yeah.
Can you do a second then? Yep. That one's good. I mean, it still has pro green.
Yep. I mean,
Alright.
this is a lethal attack. And that is going to do it. So the team of Rudyak, Darwin Kastle, and Rob Dougherty, they're going to move on to 4-1, defeating the team of Joe Demestrio, Frank Skarin, and Alec Nezin. So the Star City Games Somerset runner-ups, that's their second loss.